Are you affected by addiction and struggling to find hope? You don't have to feel this way anymore. Welcome to the Peace We Crave. Find your freedom in addiction recovery with me, your host, Tanya D. There is hope. As a spiritual life recovery coach, I use a unique holistic approach of meditation, Reiki energy and sound healing, and spiritual life transformation to help you find peace and serenity. If you are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired and have had enough, I get it. I've been there, and I can provide a listening and sympathetic ear. Creating calm in your recovery is possible. If you're ready for help and hope towards your freedom in recovery, join into the Peace We Crave show with me as I help you find your freedom in addiction recovery. It all starts now.
Wow. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to take this wonderful journey with the most incredible Tanya D. And Tanya, before we start, I want you to make sure you give out your website and give out how people can connect, because I know that during this show, we're talking about emotional sobriety. However, this is 101 things that your sponsor or your program never told you about emotional sobriety, right? I don't know why that is, but it is the foundational piece. So before we get started, because this is extremely important, it's extremely important to get you to the table, but this is the one thing that will help you stay sober. So how do people find out more about you? Let's start with that, and then we're going to dig right in.
All right, great. Thank you so much. My website's the best place to find me, www.thepeacewecrave.com. It's the best way. I'm on social media all over the place. The Peace We Crave. I mean, you can find me anywhere. So.
Okay. Now, I gave my view of what I think about the topic for today. And I don't know how long it was, how far down the rabbit hole I was before the words emotions even came to the table. But this is really something that you integrate and lead with to help people understand this. So let's talk about emotional sobriety. What does that mean to you? What does that come to mean to you now?
Yeah, it's something that when I first got into recovery, I never thought that I would be talking about something like this, let alone being okay with it.
Yeah.
And it's as you know, when I'm using a substance, I don't want to feel anything. I'm using to numb out. I don't want to feel a thing. I want to just disappear into my whatever it is of that drug of choice that day. So the feelings were just never ever a thing that I even understood. And I didn't, and it's interesting, when I first got into recovery, people would go, "How do you feel?" And I go, "Oh, I'm fine." And they say, no, honey, how do you feel? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. What's a feeling? I couldn't even, it was so bad, Dr. Pat. I couldn't even label what it was. I couldn't even label how I was feeling. So for me, emotional sobriety, first and foremost was, what is this? I'm feeling this way. What is this for me? And I thought I knew what happiness was. I thought I knew what being afraid was. I really didn't, until I didn't have my drug of choice anymore to run to and, help comfort me. My best friend went away. So I had to start labeling these things. I had to start really paying attention to how I was feeling. And it was, oh my gosh, it was so freaking scary. Like that first year of recovery, I was like, what is this? I don't understand. And I couldn't even put words to it. But the biggest part was, for me, was just starting to notice it.
Yeah.
And starting to notice it was the critical piece before even labeling it. That really, really, really was the biggest thing. And it was like such an eye-opening thing, because it's so easy to do. It's so easy to be like, oh, okay, there it is. What is that? That happened before. What was it like? And then I start noticing these things, and I'm picking them, and I'm remembering it because I'm not using a substance to blot out my memory. So I'm able to start to get some tools in my toolbox, just noticing how I'm feeling.
Yeah. But, we touched upon this. I want to ask you about this, because this is like the coolest thing to talk about, because when you're used to numbing all of that, it's like a brand new thing. It's like, what? My heart hurts, right? Do you remember that time? Like, what? My heart hurts. And I mean, I don't tell me this. I rarely cried. And then once I learned to I cried a lot. I still cry. But you see, that's just one thing. People may be looking at us saying, what the heck are these two talking about? But when you numb yourself, you numb yourself. End of the story. You cut off most of your life. Emotions are part of it. So, let's talk about now the fact that the genie is out of the bag because this was never talked about much. And now it is. So, why is it so important to us now? What happens when we discover feelings?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So a lot of things can happen. Sometimes not so great because I don't know how to react. I don't know what to do. And sometimes things are great. Like I just remember that first time, I feel like I've said this before, but the first time I really noticed that like the sky was bluer and the grass was greener. And I got this feeling of like love in my heart. And I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" I mean, I've kind of felt these things, but not on such a deep level. And it was just so important for me to just notice them and start to label them and even start to say them out loud to people. Like, is this is this what it is? Is this how does it feel for you? I don't I mean, I don't know.
But I know I'm laughing a little bit, but I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at myself because you're absolutely right. We're in an area now that is foreign to us, right? I mean, it reminds me of having this little 2.5-year-old over on the weekend. So I play ping pong as a sport, table tennis. So I think everybody knows, right? So this was my first introduction. This little child didn't understand what a ping pong ball was or a bat. Now, this is a really smart kid. So within no time, she was hitting the ball. But, for her, it was a new experience. Like, what is this? I don't mean to downplay this, but I really want to get at this. This is really a baby step in sobriety. And I want to emphasize that we're laughing a little bit about it, but it was really no laughing matter to have these feelings come up. And I tell you, I lost my mom in my first year and my sister in my second. And I'm telling you, I was like, what is happening? Right? But how do you tease this apart for people? How do you get to these trigger reactions to things?
So I take a pause. The biggest thing I learned in recovery is, oh, I'm feeling something. Okay, let me pause, notice it. Let me try to put a label on it. Let me try to see what this is. And the biggest thing too is the hardest part is not reacting. So I don't know. I was such a crier when I was new in recovery. I was crying before. I'm still crying. But then there was it was like horrible, ugly crying. And I didn't understand how actually therapeutic that was for me.
Yeah,
Like I ugly
yeah.
cried this weekend because I had to. And and it's something that I can just do. And I don't have to react in the sense that I don't know about you, but I came in very angry as well. I was like angry at everything. I
Oh,
hated you. I
yeah.
hated the world, but I didn't have to
God
react.
hated
Oh,
God.
please, how society treated women. Oh, let's not even get me started. Right. So there
Right.
was so many things for me to be angry about. And I hated myself. And I just like stopped reacting so much to that. It was almost like I had the emotion or the thing. And this has taken a long time to do. I had the emotion thing. I kind of put it like on this little shelf next to me and I kind of just had it there. So I didn't quite have to do anything with it just yet. I could just have it there. And that helped a lot, just kind of compartmentalizing it in a way until I was ready to actually deal with it. Because
Oh,
the first like year or two, like you said, if those things happened to me, I probably would end up in a mental institution, to be honest, because I was just so raw. I just didn't know. But the
yeah.
compartmentalizing and kind of like putting them in like a little area to be like, okay, they're here, but I'm not going to react to them right now. I'm just going to pause and I'm going to let them be. And then maybe at some point, when I'm got my big girl pants on or something, I can maybe deal with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Let me ask you about this because I didn't really get really, I didn't have a spiritual infiltration system until, let's say, maybe 7 years. That's when I had my real spiritual awakening. But, it's not that I didn't really immerse you, but look, if you walk in those doors, there's something spiritual happening to get you there. I'm just saying. But I wanted to ask you about this because I had this sense in some arenas that it's all good. It's all good. Some of the spiritual practices that will come out and say, it's all good, don't worry about it. Right. I want to talk about this for a minute because I want to be very clear that there are ways to let go of things without bypassing them. Talk about spiritual bypass for a minute because you are a spiritual coach, right? This is the approach you take. So this has got to be a topic that comes up a lot for you.
Yeah, it really does. I see people, and it's the one part of, if anybody's a 12-step person, it's the one part of 12-step that I cringe because people go, oh, you're not feeling a certain way, you're feeling bad, just go help somebody else. And that's fine to a point, I guess, when you're newer or when you're really not sure or you're kind of just, trying to feel your way through. But at some point, and I've seen it a lot, where people just continue to do that for the years and the decades and then decades. And then they're just like, it's just like they're just these voids that just kind of like exist, and they just go and do things for people. And it's like, okay, but how do you feel? And they don't even know. They've never processed the feeling. They've stuck into my little box here and they've never done anything with it. They've just never actually been able to acknowledge what these things are. And then the biggest thing is getting to acceptance, right? Getting to acceptance. This is how it is to feel this way. It sucks to feel pain. It sucks to feel sadness. It sucks. But if I don't feel that sadness, there may be some joy around the corner that I'm not going to experience because I'm too busy helping somebody else, or I'm too busy distracting myself from how I'm feeling. And I'm too busy. I can't look at it because, oh, it has to go away. It's bad. It has to go away. But unfortunately, I hate to break it to people, but we're human beings
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
have feelings, and this is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're hitting a really good point that doesn't come up that often. When we're talking about emotions, we're talking about the wide range. And I mean, this isn't like being a cherry picker. It's not like you're out there and you could say, I'm going to pick this today, but I'm not going to pick this because we've been doing that most of our lives. We're really good at that, aren't we? Right? Let me take the one that is going to make me feel all good. Let me just take that one as if the rest of the things don't exist. And, I remember this so clearly. See, something happens when you get sober. Let's talk about this because it's related to emotional sobriety. Something happens. And I wish you would explain this because the something that happened for me is I had a new pair of eyes. The rose colored glasses were off and I saw the world differently. I saw my life differently. Some of the things that I agreed to do never held up again. How about you?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that because I was thinking about that the other day. I was yesterday I was actually at an expo, and these people, I'm so glad I was there. It was just a holistic thing, but I was the only person there with addiction related services. And these women come up to me, they go, "We have somebody who wants to kill herself." And I go, "Oh my gosh." And Sheila comes running over and we have this beautiful conversation. And I was just so glad that I was there to actually like help her with that and like be there with her for that. But it's interesting how I've shifted my thinking so much where I feel such love and compassion for these. Never felt love and compassion for anybody. I was like, everybody sucks, forget all these people and nobody's like me, I'm whatever. And now I just have this love and compassion for especially people that are sick and suffering. I mean, I will I've let people say sometimes the meanest things to me because I'm like, you know what? If that's what you need in order to feel better and you're not going to use today, say whatever the heck you want. I don't care because I just want you to live because you're so beautiful. And they say that God loves drunks and babies. And, you know, like I just, the word is such a special position being, you know, whatever your drug of choice is, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
We're in such a special position to be able to really understand each other and really help each other.
But what you're talking about, I want to talk about this. We're going to take a really short break for people to get to know more about you. But what we're talking about here is what I call the bridge, you know, the sobriety bridge. And there's only one sobriety bridge for me, and you happen to be talking about it today. Of course, there are many. I don't want to sound like there aren't, you know, all roads lead to home, but there is a sobriety bridge. And there's this one bridge that you go across, and you really must go across this bridge. And it's the bridge that, you know, Tanya is talking about today. So you're listening to The Peace We Crave with Tanya D and me, Dr. Pat. We're going to take a short break because this is the bridge. And believe this, we're talking about people in sobriety, but what we're talking about is for all y'all. It really is all you. And if you are even close to somebody that's on the sobriety journey, you're going to need to learn about the stuff we're talking about to understand the dynamic of it. When we come back, how do you cross the bridge? How do you get emotional sobriety? When we come back, Tanya's going to walk us through the emotional sobriety checklist. You're going to want to listen to this and write it down. Let's take a very short break, Emily. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Before we go ahead, Tanya, I want you to, again, give out your website, social media group, and we're going to go through the emotional sobriety checklist, better known as the bridge. But when we go through it, people can come back here and listen to it, listen to the show, and work with you. How do they do that? What's the best way?
My website, thepeacewecrave.com, and all social medias. I'm all over the place at The Peace We Crave.
Okay. I call this the bridge. People call it other things. I have a friend that says I'm being very kind when I call this a bridge, because for them, it was not a bridge. It was like a foxhole. So take us through the checklist, if you don't mind.
Oh my gosh, a foxhole. That's so interesting.
Oh my gosh, right?
I feel like mine too was kind of like a bridge with holes. Like I kept kind of falling down in the water and I had to get back up. Oh my gosh. Totally. So yeah, so this checklist. The first thing I have on here is accepting things as they are. That's a tall order. That is not something that happened to me overnight. No. But the more that I'm able to just say it is what it is. I also say, you know, in my spiritual program, everything is already happened. There's already been a plan. So some very smart women said that to me very early on. It's already been preordained. You just got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
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 So accepting things as they are. Yep. And then no longer holding on to the past. Oh my gosh. Like if you can get to this point, oh my gosh, it's so freeing when the past does not control my life anymore. And I'm still actually on that journey.
I'm sorry. That is like a daily practice. Right? Right. Yes. Let's just be clear to people.
This is all the time.
In progress.
Yes. And I'm on this path right now of no longer accepting my past, because my past, there's some not so fun things that happened. Right. And which is, you know, everybody has their story, and I'm just doing my best to try to not let it control me anymore. Not let it be that thing that's going to take me out, because I can't, I don't want to be taken out. I want to, you know, I want this life thing. Yeah. And then being able to face your emotions without pushing them down. Oh my gosh. All I did was push them down when I used. That's what I did. So just seeing them and being able to face them and then doing what you need to do. So if it's like this weekend when I was ugly crying and I had to lay down for an hour, well, hey, that's okay, because then I was able to be present in other aspects of my life and I was able to do what I needed to do. So, you know, I faced the thing and I didn't push it down. And then that's perfect. That leads into the next one, not judging yourself for experiencing difficult emotions. I am the biggest critic of myself. I don't know about you, but I just will judge myself all day long.
Yeah.
And it's totally okay to go ugly cry and do what you need to do. And I'm not, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm taking care of myself. And biggest thing is I'm not judging myself for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then being able to reflect on what may have caused you to experience a certain emotion. So go back to the past thing. The past is, oh gosh, there's a big,
Yeah.
a lot of really deep stuff
I have
there.
had to get a lot of help with this one. And I just want to say this for people. This idea to reflect on what have caused your certain emotions, this is where you get help. You work with Tanya, you work with somebody. This one is excruciatingly difficult. And I do not believe you can get there by yourself, because our natural reaction will be to cut those painful things off and you will not remember them. So the idea you're talking about is, let's get at the root cause, right?
Right. And not be on that judgment train. You want to talk about a bridge judgment train, right? I'll just bring that in because, I could ride that all day long and then I won't be able to really look at the thing and get the help that I need. Yeah, totally. And then having deep, rich connections with other people like that has enhanced my life more than I ever thought. As much as I say I hated people when I came in, I did. And now I just have this love for people and I have these connections, and like me and you even connect, right? And we've never met in person, but like we connect in such a way because we understand this language of the heart that we're talking about.
That's right.
So, yep. So that really deep connection, and then not blaming others for your actions.
Take it. I want y'all to take a deep breath now.
This is a lot.
Take a deep breath right here. Let's just call this the 2-minute warning right here.
Yeah, right.
Because listen to the words that Tanya's saying, not blaming others for your action. We've gotten so good at blaming that we think it doesn't sound like blaming anymore. Exactly. I mean, we've created this whole new characterization, which we don't realize it's blaming. Yeah. Right. I'm sure you're going to add complaining to that one too.
Yeah. Complaining. Oh my gosh. I complained.
But don't you have to get to all of those before you can get to appreciation and gratitude? I mean, if you're not cleaning those things up, then this is why I'm saying this 2-minute warning at the football game. If you are not looking at the ones that Tanya just said right now before, the next ones you're going to have a tough time with, right? Yeah. And that appreciation and gratitude, like we only have this right now because we've done this kind of stuff when we looked at those things, right? So this is not, I just want everybody to know, these are not things that are going to happen overnight. This takes a lot of work, working with other people, getting support in what you need. And and the last two here, the last one, the second to last one, you're able to regulate your actions. Oh my gosh. But we should do a whole show on that.
Oh my gosh.
We could do a whole show. Let's do a whole show on that, because even the best people in sobriety think they're regulating their actions. And the next thing you know, I mean, look, the next thing you know, they're throwing a big book at you. And so, this is one of these things that you really have to understand are all emotionally related, right? That's a big one. Absolutely. Yeah. I remember the first time someone said something nasty to me at work, and I didn't react in a horrible way and try to take a swing at them, because that's what I used to do. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I didn't have to do that. That's amazing. I know. I mean, we do stupid things, right? Like I remember going after about a 330-pound guy with a pool stick. But you see, all of this is part of this last one. Talk about the last one, because this is really the end game, isn't it? So not letting those strong emotions dictate your behavior. Yeah. Yeah. I can have all the emotion in the world about something, but it does not mean I need to say something inappropriate, or I need to take a swing at somebody, or whatever in the pool, or whatever it was. Like, I don't need to do those things. My emotions don't have to rule my life. Just because I'm feeling them and I'm noticing them and I'm having them here doesn't mean they have to rule my life and rule my behavior. Yeah. And I want to be very clear about this. I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, and we're going to leave you with a very powerful closing message, but I want to be very clear about this. We are not talking about being doormats. Susan Dene talks about this a lot. We're just, in her words, she would say, you just don't want to be the bulldozer. But you're not really talking about being a doormat, because that's something else you have to learn in sobriety. And it is emotionally related. Like, when do I let my codependence get so far down the rabbit hole that I can't speak up for myself? You see, and that's all strong emotions dictating your behavior in a way that people don't see very much, right? Because it's passive. But it all needs to be taken care of, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God. We talked about a lot. Before we go to the closing message, which is a powerful one, please tell everybody how they can work with you, how they can connect with you, because connecting is so important.
Yeah, and connecting is something that's going to help you with your emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
I can't do it without other people. So thepeacewecrave.com, you can find me there. All my contact information is there, and of course social media, just the Peace We Crave.
Yeah. What's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with? And thank you for taking this topic on. What a great checklist.
So if anybody out there is struggling and you need to find hope, you're like, how do I get this emotional sobriety thing? If you're sick and tired of feeling all this certain ways, had enough, you don't have to feel this way anymore. Join us and find peace and serenity in your addiction recovery.
Yeah, I hope Tanya decides to have like an entire weekend retreat on this, because there's no better way to become and be vulnerable around this and heal than to do it with people that are on the same journey. It is one of the most critically important parts of sobriety. And it's my opinion, Tanya, I don't know how you feel. It is my opinion that without this, it is a really, really tough road to stay sober, right?
Yeah, it is the crux of my sobriety. If I didn't have this, I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah, that's why I play ping pong. Tanya, thank you so much. For everybody out there, remember, this is the emotional sobriety checklist. If you've missed any part of this, please get a hold to Tanya, and also re-listen to this again, pass it on, connect with her, and whatever you do, the peace we crave, do not think you have to take this journey alone. You don't. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. You've been listening to The Peace We Crave, Find Your Freedom in Addiction Recovery with me, your host, Tanya D, on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Tune in the first Monday of each month at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, as we take you on a spiritual life recovery coach journey and share unique holistic approaches. Let's stop struggling in recovery and restore hope. Join us for each show as we design a pathway to peace and serenity in addiction recovery. You don't have to struggle in recovery anymore. Let me help you find the peace we crave. For more information, visit thepeacewecrave.com.